Welcome back. The family of the victim of alleged racism at Stellenbosch University says the perpetrator must be made an example of. A white student, Theuns du Toit, urinated on Babalo Ndwayana's study materials, including a laptop. Du Toit has been suspended pending an investigation, and Ndwayana has laid criminal charges against him. But Ndwayana's father, Mkhuseli Kaduka, says it should go much further. He joins us right now. We're also joined by Asive Dlanjwa from the South African Union of Students. Thank you both for your time tonight. Mr. Kaduka, the report suggests that you are outraged. How are you feeling right now?
Good evening, Francis. The feeling of outrage is still there and appalled still. We are still waiting for further developments from the institution as well, as they said that their investigation will take up to 3 weeks to unfold.
All right. How is your son feeling? Often how you're feeling on day one after something traumatic happens, changes on day 3 and day 4. How is he holding up right now?
He's still holding up well, all things considered. We've got friends that are the outside and family friends that are that side that are giving him support. And as well, I would like to commend the student body SASCO as well. They have been very active in standing by him as well.
All right, so you feel like he's at least being supported right now?
Yes, very much so. Yes. He is very much supported, and yeah.
Mr. Kaduka, last one for you, then we'll speak to the Union of Students. But you say you're glad that he filmed this whole thing, and really it's made a difference that it was captured on film, because you say it exposes deep-seated racism. So you don't believe this is just some gross initiation, right? You believe it's racist and it's a symptom of a far wider problem? Oh, yes, it is. It is not an innocent hazing thing. This is an act that was deliberate, and it was racially motivated. Mr. Dlanjwa, you also want an investigation into the institutional culture, you say, as it pertains to transformation. My question, I mean, hasn't that all been done before? And South Africans are asking themselves, what do you do beyond diversity training, beyond trying to make people aware of right and wrong? How do you change the hearts and minds of white people?
Thank you very much, Francis. And once again, and also greetings to Dr. Mkhuseli and your viewers. The reason we want, Francis, the investigation, we think it's important, and the inquiry is because if we are still where we are today, it means that whatever has, in fact, that we have not been able to adequately deal with the issues that are happening at Stellenbosch and these former Afrikaner institutions. And the reason the inquiry is important is because what appears is that this racism is institutionalized. It is not necessarily an isolated incident. It is institutionalized because, as we have also affirmed in our statement, there is something about the culture of the institution that made that white boy of a criminal believe that he could do what he did and there would be no consequences, it would be permissible, and it would be acceptable. It is also because it has happened. It is not the first instance such instances are happening in these former white institutions. We have had our parents being made to drink urine at the University of the Free State. We have these things even in Stellenbosch have been happening. So it tells us that the institutions themselves are built in such a way that they are oppressive to black students and to black workers. So this is why we want to understand at its fabric and at the DNA of the institution, what is it that makes white boys believe that the bodies of black people are worthless in those institutions? Because it is only, in fact, we are privileged that this was videoed, but there has been these things happen every day It is just that they are not in front of the camera. So we must be able to understand what is happening and beyond speculation, and therefore chart a way forward. That how do we save these institutions and how do we redeem them from the clutches of racists, and how do we save it from it being a sanctuary of racists? Because as things stand, that is their sanctuary. This is why these things can carry on happening and happening and happening. So this is why that inquiry is important for us, so that all of us are abreast and clear that what is it about those institutions that makes racism so prevalent.
Mr. Kaduka, back to you. In the meantime, besides looking at what the underlying problem is here, Theuns du Toit facing expulsion. You are calling for him to be made an example of. Does that go far enough?
Expulsion, yes, but I still believe that he needs to be barred from ever attending any institution of higher learning in South Africa, because if we do not show that such incidents are condemned, we will continue being in these situations over and over again. Bear in mind, these guys are from privileged backgrounds. He would be suspended and expelled today from one institution and yet go and register on another institution, and his life continues. Meanwhile, the life of the black child is scarred forever.
Mr. Dlanjwa, is that viable from a student perspective, a blacklist of sorts that affects students that try to get into other universities? I see you've also called for the disbandment of the residents in the short term, Hayes Murray.
Yes, as a point of departure, the boy must be expelled from the institution, and we agree with the family that he should not be allowed in any other institution, not for a simple reason. Because if he is allowed into another university, as the family has already said, it's going to create a level of impunity. They will believe that it's fine for them to do what they do, and because they can afford to go to the next institution, they can keep on doing that. Because if they genuinely believe that what they were doing was wrong, these incidents would not keep on repeating themselves. So the only way to protect society, and we are protecting our institutions altogether, because the last time an incident like this happened in one of the other institutions, the institution was almost burned down. For almost 3 weeks to 4 weeks, the institution was at a complete standstill. Thousands of students lost class time and all of this. So unless we surgically remove these racists from our public institutions, they will carry on to perpetuate this racism. The disbandment of House Marie comes from the SRC. The SRC asserts that, in fact, that residence has been a breeding ground for racism and bigotry, and therefore must be disbanded. And we believe that is the union, because these residences, not only particularly these male residences in these former white institutions, the nature of their culture is that they thrive on dehumanizing their cultures and so-called hazing. The bedrock of it is dehumanizing black students and black workers. So this is why we agree with the SRC that it be disbanded, that residence, and we find a way to be able to, even for the students that are still left there, to find a way for counseling and to restore a dignity of everyone, including black and white students, by the way, that will restore the dignity of those students and of the institution as a whole, because that is a public institution. It belongs to all of us. We must protect it from racist bigots who come from their farms and treat their fellow students as their parents are treating our parents back in the farms.
Okay, so very quickly, what response do you expect from Stellenbosch? Are you engaging with them? They say they're committed to change. Do you expect that there will be an investigation, that all of this will be well received?
We have written to them. We're hoping that they are going to respond favorably, and we're hoping that these investigations are going to begin to ensue, and that inquiry we think is very much critical to be able to understand the institutional culture of that institution, and such that how are we able to change it. So we are really hoping that they will come to the party, or else racists are going to carry on to defecate on, and not only on the belongings and on the lives and on the bodies of black students, but in fact what they did this weekend was to defecate on our very constitution. They beat on the South African constitution, and if Stellenbosch does not realize what this means for the broader South African public, then it means we have a problem. It means the institution itself sees nothing wrong with what has happened today, and the fact that the dignity of black people across the country was urinated upon by that black boy, is rather by that white racist boy.
Mr. Kaduka, what now for your family? So were you worried about racism when your son entered this university? Of course, what has happened has been outrageous. Is he still committed to staying at that institution, or are you thinking long term?
He's still committed to attending Stellenbosch University. I've raised him to be a person who does not yield from pressures that are trying to deter him from doing what is right. And one thing our black kids should understand, that they deserve to be there. They are there on merit. This thing of some white, I do not want to say everybody who's white there, but some white kids who think that it's exclusively theirs, this institution, it should be radio.
All right, thank you very much for joining us tonight. That was the father of Ndwayana, Mkhuseli Kaduka, and then also we were joined by Asive Dlanjwa from the South African Union of Students.